All right, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. This is Baskis 360, and I'm your host. Um, so, you guys, don't you want an iPad? It's free, man. I'm giving it away. Go to stevebaskis.com/giveaway and sign up. Don't be lazy. Just navigate to stevebaskis.com/giveaway. And just fill out that form, and you'll be put in for a chance to win this brand new iPad, Apple iPad. You can sell it after you get it, whatever. But anyway, I got a special guest. He's been on the show before, Larry Carlin. He's on the show. We're going to talk about Tour of the Canyons, which is a program that's put on by Blind Endeavors Foundation, a foundation that I help run and promote. So let's roll the intro, Vic. We are back. Hey, Larry, it's good to have you back on the show, man. How are you doing?
Good to see you again, Steve.
It's good to hear you again. It's good to hear you, man. But this time, you're not sitting across from me having drinks of water.
No, I'm actually in my casa, as they say in Florida.
In Miami, somewhere
Yeah.
there in that area.
Yeah, my casa, your casa. So if you were here, my casa, your casa, mine.
Yeah, man. Well, I feel like you're in my ear right now, so it's like you're right next to me. You're like breathing on me.
Well, I hope it doesn't come to that, but
Sounds a little personal.
I'm sorry. I'm being a little wrong.
we always do this. We always make these jokes and get to laughing, which is a good thing.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit. I don't even know if I said that in the intro. I can't even remember. My brain's.
I think you did.
I'm losing my brain. We're going to talk about Tour of the Canyons. I did.
Tour of the Canyons, yes.
And so Tour of the Canyons is this bike ride that Larry got to participate in last year, right?
Right, exactly.
And that takes place here on the western slopes of Colorado. So the western side of the Colorado, the western side of the Rockies, not the Front Range where Denver is, where everybody knows, Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs. We're on the opposite side, 5.5 hours basically. You take 50 or 70 across to Grand Junction, and you head south and you hit my neck of the woods. And we start this bike ride basically in that general area, just a little south of Grand Junction. Whitewater, to be specific, is the area. And we start riding west, and we do a lot of up and down, as you know, Larry. climbing
Yes, indeed.
climbing big hills.
Yes, indeed.
And
I think it was 9 miles uphill the first day and 15 miles uphill, I think, on the fourth day. So yeah,
it was fun. I mean,
I remember it well.
The LaSalle Mountains are kind of in that area. We're basically riding from western Colorado down into Moab, Utah, and we call it Tour of the Canyons because there's some beautiful canyon lands that we ride through, especially when you get into Moab, into Kokopelli, the Kokopelli Trail. It's a pretty area for all of you viewers and listeners that have been there. Do you recall, Larry? Because you have a little bit of sight. Like it's a lot of red rock.
Yes,
right? Orange rock.
I carry a camera with me because I can't see.
You're a blind
the way.
photographer.
Yeah, the blind photographer. That's right. And but it's an HD. It's a pretty cool camera. And what I like about it is that I can go on an event like this, and then come home and plug it into my main computer with my big screen, and I get to relive the whole event all over again. And I get to see it a lot clearer because it's kind of blurry, when I'm on the trip itself, or when I travel. Either way, things are blurry, but at home it's different, and different lighting, different equipment allows me to have some vision and I fight for the vision that I have. So
Absolutely.
you have to see. I grasp it.
I'm losing you a little bit, Larry. Can you?
Can you hear me now?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
It's a degraded signal, man. We're losing him. Larry. Hello?
I'm here.
Hello, Larry.
The video is still pretty decent.
Can you hear me? Hey, Vic, do you have a YouTube video that we could play maybe to summarize or show the people that are watching what the Tour of the Canyons ride is all about?
And let's pedal up. Pretty big grunt. You definitely got to rub. It's okay. Bump. And we're up.
You know, I see something like really low, it's not just something on the road, and then I realize it's like a big freaking canyon. It's really strange.
Two brains on one machine, working to sync that together. When you're one brain on one machine, that's easy.
I'm Nate. I'm from Fort Myers Beach, Florida. Steve invited me up here to try tandem biking for the first time, so I'm super excited about it. I have what's called cone rod dystrophy. You have cones and rod cells on your macula, which are your photoreceptor cells. Not really sure why, because I don't have the genetic, disposition for the disease, but I have it. My central vision is going. It's really, really, really bad. It's kind of like if you like I always describe it, it's kind of like looking through looking through wax paper. If you try to wear glasses with just everything's white and you can't really see through it, or like frosted glass or something like that.
I have piloted a tandem, not more than about 10 miles. Okay. My girlfriend and I have a single-speed tandem from about 1975. That's the nearest I've come to it, but this is a whole new ball of wax. Oh, cool, they're getting it.
You're leaving Colorado right now.
My name's Danny Wallace. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. We just moved to Cape Coral, Florida a couple months ago. I was blinded by a suicide car bomber in Tel Afar, Iraq in 2003. Beginning completely blind, then vision got a little better after surgery in the left eye, nothing in the right eye. And as times went on, the vision has declined in the left eye to a point where Nate says he has a little peripheral. Well, I have no peripheral, I just have straight ahead. And I can make out images fairly good in my left eye, but it just gets worse every year.
It's always easy to get down or to get negative, and it's the hardest thing to get remotivated and refocused and reinvigorated, but it always is worth that extra pursuit and that extra effort to do that, to get refocused and reinvigorated about what you're doing. Being a pilot for someone who can't see is an immense responsibility and a really great opportunity to work with somebody and build together team skills. The authenticity of one-on-one human interaction, I think nothing beats that. That was a big takeaway as well. I wasn't on the phone. Sure, it'd be great to be able to tell people, hey, how's it going, and check in and make sure everybody's doing okay. And it's one 6-1, half dozen the other sometimes, but at the same time, nothing was better than the last 5 days.
So that's some footage from the very first year Larry, of the Tour of the Canyons ride, and Nate and Danny were kind of I was the guinea pig initially, but they kind of came on, and we wanted to see, what they thought of it and what we could do to improve it upon. So it was a small group. It was only 3 of us riding. But we did the basically the same ride a bit further, and ended in Grand Junction. So it was an epic ride, and we had a good time together as a team. And so you heard a little bit about Nate and Dan, and they were both they're actually, at the time, Dan and Nate were living in Florida too. So it's kind of interesting that we're talking to you and you're from Florida.
Yeah, Florida too. Yeah, that's the problem is you come here, you get stuck.
Yeah, Dan was in Cape Coral, I think, and I think Nate was right there too, basically next to Cape Coral, or right in the same place. So what did you think about the bike ride? Like, you'd never ridden on a tandem, but you've definitely rode single, just normal bikes, right?
Right, and I have 2 bikes here. I call it a utility bike, because that's what I go to the grocery store with, since they don't allow me to drive. But it's within residential neighborhoods, so I don't have to deal with cars and traffic and stuff.
Yeah.
The other one is a race bike that I use when I compete in the Golden Age Games, and they don't let blind, visually impaired people cycle. So I had to sign up as a sighted person. And they don't know it.
I've done that before too.
I don't tell them, and it's kind of scary, because at one point last year, I was ahead at 3 miles. I finally got ahead for my age group, and there was nobody in front of me that I could see well enough to know when to make the next turn. So I was praying that there would be somebody there on the corner to say, yeah, turn here. So.
Yeah, I pray for that all the time too.
It worked out. So they don't know my impairment, and I kind of get away with it. But sometimes I don't get away with it, and I've had about 4 accidents.
That's not good, man.
But it's not how many times you fall; it's how many times you can get up. Right?
Most
Something
definitely.
Like
So,
but I enjoyed it.
You were on a tandem though, so it's like you relinquish, release your ability to control the bike, to steer it really, more or less, and you end up being an engine, what we call the stoker, and then the person driving the bike is the pilot or captain, and you work as a team. So like that's got to be a strange feeling, I mean, or were you okay with it?
It was strange because the shoes are different, which I didn't know about, and I bought them
clipless shoes
before I went.
Yeah,
and you both have to work. You both have to sync together to get on the bike and to start pedaling and to get your shoes into the pedals. It temporarily kind of locks you in, but just a twist of your foot, you can go ahead and unlock. But syncing that with your pilot is something that I had to coordinate, and it worked out the first time, and it worked out throughout. And halfway through, we had a different pilot. We changed pilots, and my pilot did a little bit differently, especially when it comes to getting off the bike.
Yeah.
When you come to a stop, so I had to coordinate with how he did it. And, but it's all about, working together as a team. And that was just the beginning. Then you got to the being on a tandem bike and doing the pedaling, and that was a challenge, especially on the first day when I think we're already at 5,000 foot elevation, and I think we went up to 6,500. So my breathing got a little bit heavy, and I had to tell my pilot, don't worry about my breathing. If I'm having trouble, I'm going to let you know, but just ignore all this huffing and puffing that you're going to be here. That she heard, and the first day was 9 miles uphill, and I'm not a quitter, and most of you guys are like half my age. And I gotta always prove something whenever I'm with you guys, that I can still keep up with you. And so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And to be hanging around with fellow veterans and enjoying this great countryside. I didn't see it like I said, but with the camera, I was able to see it when I got home, and it was just awesome.
Absolutely.
The scenery was just phenomenal.
Vic, you didn't increase his levels, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay. No, it's fine. He is his intense, your cellular quality or your Wi-Fi, your internet quality is better. So I hear you better.
Okay. That's great.
No, it is good. It goes in and out, but, the synchronizing with your pilot, I went for 3-4 years riding tandems, racing them, and I went through so many pilots, and it made me diverse. It made my ability to adapt with anybody and teach them and work with them, or even just if they were stubborn and they liked doing it their way, then I could learn how to do it their way, and that can be frustrating, for us as blind individuals, blind veterans, but
there's a difference between someone who mountain bikes and someone who
road bikes.
The
gear
different.
The gear is changing. That was a big deal, right? Yeah, go on, talk about that.
Yeah, and our bike had a problem from Jump Street, so. We could only be in 3 gears at the most, so we couldn't, when we were going uphill, we couldn't
use all the gears.
We couldn't use all the gears. So we were still pushing it, and good thing I got legs, That's the only thing I say. Good thing I got legs.
You're mashing gears. Yeah. I mean, it's it's an efficiency thing. People, they sit in their car and their automatic transmission does all the work, and you're not. It's a motor vehicle, of course, so you're not really feeling the. You're not putting out anything. It's not strenuous at all. So but when you're on a bike and you're going up and down, you realize really quickly why gears are important, and it does take, again, teamwork. You, the stoker, a blind,
absolutely,
communicating to the captain what gears should be used. But yeah, that's hard because everybody's a little different too. That maybe the captain is more used to pushing a harder, heavier gear uphill, where you're more used to pushing a very light gear and spinning at a higher cadence. And that can be difficult for people to adjust to, and it takes days, takes weeks. Sometimes it takes a lifetime for people. But when you're a blind athlete, you got to do it. Really
I thought we did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I think all of us did. I think some of us, there were some issues, but as each day went on, and we were able to, some of us were able to adapt pretty well, I thought, changing pilots, that worked out as well,
And it wasn't only just the bikes and the terrain, but we had an interesting living conditions, right? Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah.
What did you think about that?
When you hear me yelling in the middle of the night, falling down some stairs outside the bunks. I'm okay. I'm okay.
So for our viewers and listeners, we partner with San Juan Leads. Blind Endeavors Foundation partners with San Juan Leads,
Yes.
which is an organization here on the Western Slopes. But they also have a for-profit company called the San Juan Hut System, and some people are familiar with it. They have these bunkhouses, these 8-man, woman, 8-bed bunkhouses, so they can serve people who want to hike, between one point to another, or bike, and they have these 2 routes from Durango to Moab for biking, and from Telluride to Moab, which are these long mountain bike trails. And so our ride is on road, the Tour of the Canyons ride, and we use 2 of these huts to sleep the participants, the blind veterans that participate in this event, which is to commemorate and remember service members that are serving, that have served, and who will serve. It's Memorial Day. It takes place in the month of May, this bike ride. So yeah, we stay in these huts, and what did you think about, so the first day we're staying up at more of on a private property, and it's wasn't it interesting, that bunkhouse, and
Yes, it was.
describe it.
But it was kind of nice. But it was our my first experience anyway to the exposure of being outside in the
Wilderness.
wildlife. When you had
At
a
9,000
toilet
feet,
seat on top of a
5-gallon bucket.
5-gallon can bucket, with just a wall behind you and the whole wilderness in front of you.
You had this
I
amazing
was like,
vista.
well, gee, I've never gone to the bathroom so publicly before.
Well, the deers and the mice and insects
Yeah.
were watching. It was it was rustic. That was, I think,
It was very rustic, and but you think you're gonna have a problem, and then you realize, hey, this is the way it is, and everybody, it's not you with this problem, it's not you in this situation, it's everybody, and nobody ever complained, and it was interesting to me. So
no, it was.
and we shared the bunk with one female,
Yep.
if you remember.
Yeah, Tina.
And she was Tina. Yeah, she was like one of the guys.
She's moving out. Well, she wants to move out here. They're coming out here to visit and help maybe with developing Team River Runner chapter.
Okay.
Which is an
Yeah,
organization
I saw her at the Blind Veterans Convention, and she was very nice.
Yeah.
Hung out with us for a while.
Cool. Well, yeah, she's going to come help try to set up this chapter, and we're going to help. San Juan Leads and Blind Endeavors are going to come. We're going to all collaborate and work together to try to build this chapter and get people out in the Whitewater Park here, and then on the reservoirs paddling.
That's good. It's our rec therapist here in Miami is actually going to be the president of the Team River Runners chapter here in Miami.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I thought that was a step up to try to get a Team River Runner chapter developed in Miami. So that was a good move on their part.
I've talked about this a lot with other guests and the topics and subject matter that we speak about. But what do you like about these kinds of trips? Is it the camaraderie? Is it the challenge? Is it a mix of both? Is it everything? What's the big deal about this, kind of stuff?
It's for me personally, I need the stress, if you call it, of a challenge to feel normal. You know,
I agree.
the camaraderie I'm getting better at than I was. Because I realize, this is that we're all veterans, and it's good that veterans uh, can get together and meet and work together as a group and as a team, and that we get to meet we get to meet more and more veterans, and we have this camaraderie. It's like, going to an AA meeting. It's once you say something, 100% of the veterans know what you're talking about, and that's important. And when you think that you're the only one, and you find out it's not. I think your slogan on your T-shirt says "Moving is living."
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I said, "That's what I've been trying to say. If I'm not working out every day, if I'm not pushing myself every day, whether it be running, mostly for me, it's running, and cycling." That's the only thing that makes me feel normal. Otherwise, I fall into a slump, and I get depressed and so on and so forth. And I battled with that ever since I got out of the military, And so I'm a Vietnam veteran, so we're talking about a lot of years. But hey, I'm still around, and I'm not a statistic today.
Yeah. No, well, it's a different statistic. It's you're influencing others with your positive attitude, with your go-getter attitude, the never give up attitude. You're trying to do things even when you're dealing with loss of sight, and maybe even continuous loss of sight, and that's a remarkable thing. I know it's remarkable, Larry, because I relate.
Don't mind me interrupting you on that. That bothered me when I heard I was going to lose my eyesight. It just really made me think stupid thoughts. And having gone to peer support, bringing me to the BBA conference and meeting other veterans and Team River Runners and meeting you and so on and so forth, I realized I'm not scared of that anymore. I'm not going to freak out, when that day happens, I mean, I've lost more and more of my eyesight, true, but I've also have adapted. But I used to fear that. And then I hang out with guys like you, and others, and I learn. And I say, you know what? When it happens, it happens, and I'm not going to be as dismayed as I initially thought that I would be.
Well,
so
I mean,
I just wanted to say that hanging out with you guys has been a tremendous influence in my life.
It's a two-way street, man. And hopefully you won't lose any more sight. Maybe you'll regain some sight. No, I feel you, man. It's that's why I say it's a remarkable thing what you're doing. I think a lot of people are busy living their life, and I did not know a blind person or visually impaired person on any high level when I was sighted, when I was living life, when I was able-bodied, as they say. And so I feel like people, unless they're caught up in the moment of being on a trip with us, like, helping and being part of like a epic bike ride or a climb in the mountains or like you were ice climbing recently, they don't really understand. They don't get it like maybe right away because, we're so busy sometimes. But man, the people that do come out and help on these trips, or who spend the time to listen to some of the stories, maybe even the people that are listening or viewing this show, get a chance to hear from someone like yourself or me or many others that are dealing with a physical disability. Because I think it's an acceleration of age. Maybe I was 22 when I lost all my sight. And if you grow to 90 years old or 100 years old, your body degrades, things diminish, but usually that happens over a long period of time, and that gives you the ability to kind of adjust and live your life how you've always lived it, and slowly make decisions that affect your day to day grind. But for me, and even maybe you and others, it can be a quick and abrupt, traumatic transition and change, and that's any kind of traumatic thing in life is difficult for people. But
right, I remember when I got seen. I guess VA had changed the strategy of how they were treating veterans, and we had an attending, so all the residents had to answer to the attending, So the resident goes to see the attending, and she comes in. They look at me and they said, "Look, we need to operate now." So, we're going to do your worst eye first, and then we're going to do your other eye next. But we have to do it now. And I'm like, geez, all these years, nobody ever said that. Yeah. Now it's like it's desperate. So
it's interesting. The timing of things, yeah. The physical things, though, they give you this positive feeling, right?
It does. It's I don't know. People say endorphins or this or that, the other, and it's like, for me, I got out of the service and I was very self-destructive, without really realizing that I was. I was going 180 miles an hour. I worked one job, went to school full time. I worked full time.
You're still going 180 miles per hour.
Yeah, that hasn't changed much. And I partied full time. But it's that went on for a while, but eventually things just catch up with you, and things couldn't continue that way for a while. I'm not gonna tell my whole story, but
no, you're fine.
Things did change, and
well, I can tell. I mean, judging from all the stories you've told me and the time we've spent with each other, and I appreciate you being open, to the public about it, because it's not an easy thing to talk to me or to strangers or people about this. But I've always had the philosophy that I try to be honest with myself and honest with people, and work hard on things. And good things will come, no matter how bad it gets. And sometimes you just have to smile back at the negative stuff. So you gotta own the suck, as they like to say in the military, or drive on. And I think you carry yourself very well, and you help a lot, of people doing it. You're leading and creating examples.
I have a guy that I run with, right? We run 4 days a week together, and he's 7 years older than me. He's also being better, and we run at this park all the time. People know us in the park.
Running in the park, yeah.
Yeah, we run this track, and they have high school kids out there, and they have children on up to our age at that park and running, and so we pretty much know us. But anyway, so he was telling me Sunday the story of how his day went on Friday, and he says he still does landscaping business on the side. So he said he had 2 flat tires on his trailer, and he had to get them fixed. So as soon as he got the 2 tires fixed, his lawnmower engine broke down. So now he's got to load the riding lawnmower back onto the trailer, and when he does that, as he's going down the street, another tire blows out. So then he has to stop. He has to get that fixed.
Oh my gosh, sounds like a bad day.
Then he stops, and he's able to get the lawnmower out. He's able to fix the hydraulics on it. He was able to get it running again. And as soon as he got it hooked back onto the trailer, his car wouldn't start.
Oh, man.
Or his truck wouldn't start. So here he was with, he said one thing after another. And he said the only good part about it was that it all happened at the end of the day. And he had spent about $1,000 solving each of the problems that he had. And I said, man, if that was me,
would have been smashing windows.
I would have been ballistics long, quite early. But you hear,
I would be too.
And you go, you know what? And here we are running. And we're doing sprints as well. We do 4 miles each time, and then we do lately we've been doing these sprints in between.
You're coming in gargled a little bit, man, Larry.
Okay. How do you?
I hear you. It just goes in and out a little bit. I just, that was pretty bad there.
Okay.
No, I really, it's really cool that you're running still, man, and you find people to run with. I'm picking up running too. This year, I plan on running in a marathon by the end of the year, but I hope to do more than that.
I think didn't I see something like that on your Facebook?
Yeah, I posted something on Facebook about running in the California International Marathon, which I have run in it 3 times, but I've never done the full marathon. So this December, I plan on doing the full marathon.
Okay, that's awesome. I haven't done a marathon, so that'll be my next
goal. Yeah, it's
provided all my bones stay intact. Lately, they haven't been cooperating, so we'll have to see my physical medicine rehab. You know what's nice about VA is that they gave me a physical medicine rehab doctor.
Huh.
That's because my vertebrae are so messed up.
Yeah.
That at any time I could be paralyzed, so they keep checking me out every 4 months.
Jeez.
And yet I'm out here running, right?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't do anything to make things worse.
Larry.
Hey, at least I can say if I'm paralyzed, if I become paralyzed, I can say, well, at least I was doing what I wanted to do. Right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel that way too about a lot of things. And I mean, some people may not understand that unless they're in the situation themselves, feeling that. Tell me, so lastly, I think I'd like for you to talk about or reiterate maybe again the importance of these kinds of programs, because you participate in a lot of things, not only with my foundation, Blind Endeavors, but with different organizations. Among many other people that have disabilities, whether they're veterans or not, and so you think these programs are good, right? I mean, it's something that a lot of communities and places in the country should strive to pursue and create.
I call them therapy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to say therapy,
it's
but
physical therapy.
In essence, it ends up being that way because I was with No Barriers not too long ago,
mm-hmm.
with 16 other veterans, and most of our diagnosis that was common among all of us was PTSD, or TBI.
Yeah.
And that was, I would say, the most challenging that I've ever been in.
Is the most challenging thing you've ever been in?
Physically, because I was only visually impaired one, so it was a little harder for me because I can't see the trail.
Yeah.
But the speed at which they were hiking didn't change.
Yeah.
They didn't
they were
slow down because of me, and I wasn't going to let them slow down because of me if that ever became the case. So I did my best to keep up, and I did. And the last day was like, we thought it was going to be over quickly, and it ended up not being. We thought we were only going to be 2 miles out of the canyon. We end up hiking over 5 miles.
Wow. Yeah.
At another pace, and but to continue, you meet a whole different group of veterans at each of these events that you go to, and you seem to develop a camaraderie that says, you know what, we ought to get together and do this again next year, or we ought to get together and do something together.
Most definitely.
Which is something I'd like to see happen. And when I at No Barriers, we said, "Oh, let's do this again next year," and everybody said, "No way," because it was
grueling.
such a challenge.
Well, yeah,
it was definitely grueling.
But at the end of the day, you feel like you accomplished something? That's my question.
Yeah, they asked me that question. I says, after this, then I could look at a challenge and say, if I can do this, I can face anything. And that's kind of what programs like this gives you. When you're ice climbing, you make it all the way to the top of the mountain. That's something.
It's special
to look down and see all these. Well, can't see anyway, but you see these little ants down there. It looks like, but you made it to the top. It gave me you have a certain feeling about climbing, and you ended up giving me that feeling. It's like contagious. So I hope to go to the Yosemite climb.
Yeah, Yosemite.
I think I'll be more focused on the actual ability. How do you say it? Ability, or the way of climbing.
Yeah,
I don't know. I forget the words for it.
The technique or your skill.
The technique of climbing. I think I'll be more focused and more directed to climb and really absorb how I can take this to another level.
Oh yeah.
And these programs are great, and the only way that these programs can help other veterans is for the word to get out.
And that's you, man. That's what you're doing.
I think that's us.
It's all of us.
Everyone.
It's participants. It's people supporting the organizations, donating, contributing, creating awareness, even just like you said, sharing what is the magic, if you want to call it magic, but sharing the accomplishment of people who are dealing with a physical challenge or even a mental challenge, and that's a great thing.
And I realize how many people I meet on the plane on the way to these events. And, I remember I mentioned something that I wanted to do, and these people said, "Look, if you ever need any financial help, whatever, just give us a call." It's like, you know what? I need to start remembering who these people are now, because I could use these. We can all use these people now. To realize that, veterans need to be aware of these programs, and they need to be encouraged to go, because it helps out.
Yeah.
In the long run, it helps us all out. in more ways.
It's something that needs to be driven and introduced to the service member early on, so that they are given this ability to rise to the occasion and to build themselves back up. Because if you wait half your life, it's still good, that they exist, but it's it's important.
Tour de Canyon is great. I mean, you get to camp out in the bunk beds in the woods. You get to see, it should be an awesome trip this year with all the snow. The Colorado River should be flowing.
Yeah, all the rivers are going to be flowing.
Yeah, I think we're already seeing in the news. All these places getting flooded now because of the snow.
Yeah, water, rain, snow.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. The Tour de Canyon is a very scenic route, and the other thing is that you also have the volunteers.
Oh, they're amazing.
The volunteers that participated to make this event memorable. They were very nice, very polite. They a lot of encouragement. You just can't, and a lot of it's not just this, but in other ones as well. The volunteers are just the pedestal of what makes these programs so successful.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Larry, I think I'm going to make some closing remarks here, and about what you've had to say.
By the way, but thank you for having me on again. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we'll do this. We'll do this multiple times, Larry. I can have anybody on I want, right? It's my show.
Yes, you can.
But Tour of the Canyons,
executive.
The executive, the blind executive,
You're the CEO.
So Tour of the Canyons is for all you listeners at this point. It's kind of going into late March. We are conducting Tour of the Canyons May 11th through May 18th, 2019. We're still looking for blind participants, specifically blind veterans, but we would welcome anybody applying. And it'd be great if you had your own tandem and that you're physically fit and you can ride, 20, 30, 40 miles in a day. And to understand that this is a rustic kind of camping style trip with long road rides on a tandem, working with teammates, but that it's a loving crew and it's a great group support or a great group of people that will support you on this amazing endeavor. And so please, if you're listening to this and you listen to what Larry had to say, share the video, share what he had to say about this whole experience of Tour of the Canyons. And so again, check out the website, check out the YouTube channel, and see what other kind of videos we've posted. But until next time, I bid everybody farewell and goodbye.